If you clicked on this video, you're probably trying to make sense of the Japanese writing system. Maybe you watched some how to start learning Japanese videos where everyone, including myself, says, first learn Hiragana and Katakana. And probably you have many questions like, but what are Hiragana and Katakana? Are they something like a Japanese alphabet? But if so, why do they have two? Also, there are some characters, right? Is it true that there are thousands of them? Do I need to study them all? How do I even start? How do I deal with all it? Welcome back to the channel, Japanese for Creative Hearts. My name is Yana, I'm a Japanese teacher. I'm fluent in Japanese myself, and I help Japan lovers from different countries speak and understand real Japanese before they visit Japan for the first time. And in this video, we're going to make sense of the Japanese writing system. First, we're going to have a quick dive into Japanese history to deeply understand why it is as it is, why Japanese writing system is so complicated and so beautiful. Then we're going to have a look at Hiragana, Katakana and Kanji and understand their functions in modern language. And of course, we'll have some strategies on how to learn each of them. So let's get started. Imagine Japan in the 5th, 6th centuries. It has rice agriculture, powerful clans, villages, social hierarchies, myths, poetry, songs, and so on. But everything is transmitted orally because this society doesn't have a writing system yet, but it is ready for one and it is ready for the next step in the development. Now imagine that you take Japan and drop it somewhere in the Mediterranean region. In the Mediterranean region, if you want to borrow a writing system, you actually have choice. You can take Greek, Latin, Hebrew, Syrian, or explore some other minor writing systems. But Japan is not located in the Mediterranean region. It is a small set of islands at the edge of the world. And the only writing system they know, it is the Chinese writing system, the Great Chinese Empire, the most highly developed country in the region. And the Japanese society is ready for the next step in the development, and they borrow laws, state administration practices, Buddhism, books, and the writing system. This is important that Japan did not sit down and design those cute alphabets. They wanted development, progress, evolution, and writing system came as part of the package. Now imagine that you are a scholar in Japan around that time or 100-200 years later. Suddenly, you got access to Chinese books filled with philosophy, Buddhism, medicine, laws, government practices, and this is a whole world of knowledge. There is one problem, that these books are written in classical Chinese, and there are thousands of complex characters, and your native language, Asian Japanese, is completely different from Chinese in terms of grammar and phonetics. What do you do? Giving up is not an option because these books are knowledge and power. What do you do? Actually, there were two tasks. First, to read and understand the books, and second task was to adapt the Chinese writing system for Japanese. As for the first task, read and understand the books, scholars and nobility learned Chinese, to read those books and to write in Chinese. And for Japan of the time, Chinese became something like Latin was for Europe, language of knowledge and documentation. As for the second task, adapting Chinese writing system to express Japanese scholars came up with a clever trick. Let's take a bunch of Chinese characters and use them not for their meaning, but for their sounds. We will memorize how they are pronounced and use them to write Japanese phonetically. This system is called Manyōgana, and it uses normal-looking Chinese characters, but some of them are used not for their meaning, but phonetically. And Asian poetry collection, Manyōshu, was written using this writing system. That's why it's called Manyōgana, the writing system of Manyōshu. This system, Manyōgana, is powerful and creative because it was a way to write in Japanese, phonetically express in Japanese, but it was very messy because the same sound could be expressed by several characters. The texts, the poetry in this writing system were a mixture of characters used for their meaning and characters used for their sounds, and it was not simple and not beginner friendly. But from this kind of chaotic, messy system, Hiragana and Katakana were developed. Katakana developed as a tool for the first task, understanding clever stuff in Chinese. The scholars took fragments of those Manyogana phonetic characters and used them as reading aids for the Chinese texts. Those characters were written just next to the Chinese original and were used as written aids to hint, for example, the order in which those characters should be read in Japanese and to be understood in Japanese, or they hinted some grammar or some sounds that were not obvious from the Chinese original. Over time, those fragments became standardized and became a separate set of symbols that we now know as katakana. Hiragana developed as a tool to serve the second task, adapting Chinese writing system to Japanese. Some people started writing those Manyogana phonetic characters in a soft, cursive, quick way, and also started using them as a way to write Japanese phonetically, and it became popular. And over time, those shapes became more simplified, more standardized, and now we know them as hiragana. Historically, this happened around 9th century, and hiragana became very popular among women of court who didn't usually receive the same Chinese education as men, and who enjoyed this way of expressing themselves in soft cursive letters. Also, many classical works of that time, including Genji Monogatari, The Tale of Genji, were written largely in hiragana. So that was our dive into history, and now let us explore how we now have hiragana, katakana, and kanji in modern Japanese. Now that we've told the origin story, let us answer the very practical question. What are hiragana, katakana, and kanji in modern Japanese? To answer this question, let me offer you an emoji riddle. This one. Try to read the sentence. I hope that you guessed this sentence as a cat is sleeping under a bed, right? But let us notice how you guessed this sentence. There are pictures, and you know the meaning of those pictures, and you read these pictures as words. And also, there are some grammar hints that are written with alphabet letters, and you also read this with those grammar hints as a sentence. This is very close to how Japanese works. The Chinese characters, kanji, that stayed in Japanese, you can think of them about as this emoji, as pictures with meanings, and you know the meanings. And the grammar hints are written with hiragana, and they help to understand the relation between the words in the sentence. And what about katakana? Let us add one more word to this sentence, this one. Can you read it? I hope yes, and I hope that you read it as a cat is sleeping under the IKEA bed. But did you notice that this is not really English word, this IKEA word? Okay, first two letters look like English letters, but second, the last two letters are not English letters. These are Greek. This is Greek alphabet and Greek letters. And this word is written in lowercase Greek letters. But still, you managed to read this word, right? This is very similar to how katakana works in Japanese. So this is an alphabet, a separate alphabet, to write foreign loan words. If we sum up everything that we've just discussed and learned, we get the following picture. Kanji are like pictures. These are characters that have meanings. And in written speech, they are used to write the roots of the words, the parts of the words that don't change. There are several thousand actually kanji in Japanese, but for comfortable adult life, for example, reading for pleasure, you need to know around 2,000 kanji. Hiragana is a syllabic alphabet that has 46 characters, and it is used mainly to express grammar details. For example, while kanji is written for the part of the word that doesn't change, hiragana is used to write the part of the word that actually changes, making this word into some different form. And katakana is another alphabet that also has 46 characters in modern language, and it is used to write foreign loan words, foreign names, country names, Sometimes it's used for sound effects like in manga, or also it can be used for emphasis. For example, in English we can write a word in italics, but in Japanese we can use katakana for that purpose. Now let's talk about some practical tips how to learn Hiragana, Katakana and Kanji. Start with Hiragana. This will be your foundation. Why? 2 reasons. First, Hiragana is everywhere. Almost every Japanese sentence has Hiragana in it, and you need Hiragana to read almost any textbook or learning resource. And second, this exercise will train your brain to handle this specific kind of memorization Japanese language requires. As a strategy, I think that the most important thing here is to learn gradually. Take 5-10 characters and practice them. Read them and write them until you don't need a pause for thinking, until you have really put it in your memory. And well, to help you, I invite you to check out the Hiragana practice playlist here, or the Ultimate Hiragana Reading Guide. This is the book that we developed. The link is in the description. Katakana next. The same gradual approach. 5-10 characters and practice them until you don't need a pause to think. And here is our playlist for katakana practice. Also, a very important thing is a real-world practice. Hunt katakana in, for example, anime screenshots, in Japan photos, in product packages. Notice katakana and pause and read every katakana you see. That will help you a lot in memorizing katakana. Probably you will not love it a lot. Probably you will be frustrated a lot in the beginning, but eventually you will read katakana comfortably. As for the kanji, I think that this is crucially important to have a systematic approach to language and to integrate kanji studies into the systematic language approach. And here we can rely on great textbooks. If you're learning with Genki, pay attention that there is a writing section at the end of the book, and lesson 1 of that writing section is Hiragana, lesson 2 is Katakana, and lesson 3 already has around 15 kanji, basic kanji, the most basic ones, for you to learn and to practice. If you are learning language with another great book, which is Minna no Nihongo, I invite you to combine this book with basic kanji book, but do it only after Minna no Nihongo lesson 10. For the first 10 lessons of Minna no Nihongo, just enjoy the introduction to language, get used to some grammar, get used to listening, enjoy understanding sentences and putting sentences together. Just enjoy the introduction to language. And when you reach lesson 11, open basic kanji book and start learning kanji. This will be very easy for you in terms of grammar, and this will be a very smooth introduction to the kanji learning. This approach helped many of my students to get a great foundation in the topic of kanji. So there you have it. Hiragana, katakana, and kanji, from ancient Chinese books to their function in the modern language, and a roadmap how to learn them all without feeling overwhelmed. If you would like personalized guidance on your Japanese learning journey, I offer one-on-one lessons, and you can contact me using the links in the description. We will have a free strategy call to discuss your learning journey, and we will have a roadmap how to get you speaking and understanding real Japanese even before you go to Japan for the first time. Thank you very much for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel for more Japanese learning materials. And I'll see you next time. Mata ne!